The echo of clattering metal cages reverberates in the stark, sterile room, a dull, oppressive hum of indifference that fills the air. In the center of the room, Max, a German shepherd, stands alone, eyes wide with confusion, fear, and despair. His coat is ragged, clinging to his emaciated frame. His paws, cracked and calloused from years of neglect, shift uneasily on the cold concrete floor. Around him, rows of cages imprison more forgotten souls, dogs too broken, too afraid, too traumatized to be anything but a shadow of what they once were. The other animals bark, whine, and struggle, but Max stands still, like a ghost, his gaze empty, his spirit faded. Max's once proud and strong eyes are now hollow, vacant windows to the pain he's endured. Every scar on his body tells a story of brutality, neglect, and rejection. His fur, matted and dirty, tells of a life lived in the shadows, used only as a tool before being discarded. His ears twitch at the slightest sound, and his body flinches whenever someone gets too close. His movements are slow, hesitant. His instinct to flee battling with the weight of years spent fighting for survival. And yet, beneath the layers of trauma, there is something there, something that still hopes. The auctioneer's voice cracks through the air, high-pitched and robotic, almost as if it's detached from the heart of the event. Another German shepherd, Folks, 5 years old, trained for military work but too aggressive for most. Starting bid at $50. The crowd stirs, some barely glancing at Max, while others turn their attention elsewhere. His fate is being decided in this room full of strangers, yet none of them seem to care. No takers? No interest? All right, I'll lower the price. We need this dog gone. Last chance. $5. Each word, each price drop, chips away at the last remnants of hope in Max's heart. He can't understand the auctioneer's words, but he feels the sting of rejection. The rejection of his worth. The rejection of his life. Max's eyes scan the crowd, a silent plea, a whisper of desperation, yearning for someone to see him as more than a broken animal. His body trembles slightly, but he stays in place, too fearful to move. His eyes lock briefly with the gaze of a man standing quietly at the back of the room, someone who isn't shouting or bidding or turning away. Max doesn't understand why he feels this pull, but it's as if a connection passes between them, something unspoken. A silent plea for help, for a chance at a life beyond the cage. One by one, bidders look at Max and turn away. The auctioneer grows more impatient, casting a glance toward the back of the room where the remaining bidders sit. They avoid Max's eyes, shifting uncomfortably. His fear, his aggression, the uncertainty that hangs in the air, all these things make him unappealing. No interest, huh? All right then, let's just lower the price even more. The price drops again, and yet no one takes the bait. With each rejection, Max's hope for a new life diminishes. His posture slouches even further, defeated by the cycle of neglect that he's come to know all too well. The cold realization settles in. There is no one here who sees him as more than another animal to be sold. His heart sinks. This could be the end. Max is the last animal left. The auctioneer's voice rings out with more urgency now. Last call. Last dog of the day. Starting at just $1. Last chance for this one, folks. Max's body trembles violently, but he stands frozen. He doesn't want to run anymore. He has nowhere to go, no one to turn to. The final call echoes in the room, and for a moment, he doesn't hear it anymore. He hears only the pounding of his own heart, desperately hoping for someone, anyone, to give him a chance. In the back of the room stands Luke, quiet, distant, as though the noise around him doesn't matter. His eyes, though, are fixed on Max. His own face is etched with pain, years of loss, of guilt, of an aching emptiness. Luke is not here for a dog, not looking for a companion. He's just here, trying to numb the constant ache in his chest. But something about Max pulls him in, like an invisible thread connecting them. Their eyes meet for the briefest of moments. The world seems to stop for just a heartbeat. Max's weary eyes lock with Luke's. In that instant, time slows. Max sees the grief and pain in Luke's eyes, and Luke sees something more, a reflection of his own brokenness. He sees it in the way Max stands there, vulnerable, lost, yearning for something more, just like him. "Please," Max's eyes seem to say, "please don't leave me here." Luke's heart clenches. A wave of emotion rushes through him, unbidden and unstoppable. He doesn't understand why, but he knows something has shifted within him. It's as if Max is calling to him, just as much as Luke is silently reaching out for him. The moment stretches on, and Luke doesn't move. His breath catches in his chest. There's something in Max's gaze that calls out to him, not just as a man to a dog, but as one broken soul reaching out to another. Luke doesn't know what to do with this feeling, this sudden and overwhelming pull. But deep inside, something stirs, and for the first time in a long time, it's hope. Without thinking, Luke raises his hand. $1. His voice is quiet but firm. The room falls silent. All eyes turn toward him, and for the first time, Luke is aware of the heavy weight of his decision. He's never been this sure of anything, and yet, he's never felt more uncertain. The auctioneer stares at him for a moment, processing the bid. There's a pause, a silence that hangs in the air like a held breath. Finally, the auctioneer nods. "Sold." Max's fate is sealed, but Luke's heart races. He stands there, hands trembling, realizing he's made a decision that might change everything. Max is led toward Luke, still trembling, still unsure. As the leash is handed to him, Luke feels the weight of responsibility. His heart pounds in his chest, a mixture of fear and something else, something that feels like anticipation. He doesn't know how to care for a dog, especially one so broken. But he does know one thing: he won't let Max suffer anymore. Luke bends down to Max, whose eyes are wide with fear. He reaches out slowly, cautiously, trying to show the dog that he's not a threat. Max's body stiffens, but he doesn't pull away. Luke's fingers brush through the dog's matted fur. "We'll get through this, buddy," Luke whispers, his voice soft but steady. For the first time in a long time, Luke believes in something. Hope, maybe. Or maybe it's just the beginning of a journey neither of them expected. As Luke walks out of the auction house, Max follows hesitantly by his side. His body trembles, but for the first time in ages, he walks with someone. Not alone. Not abandoned. Luke's heart swells as he looks down at the dog, feeling a small spark of hope. They have a long road ahead of them, full of challenges and setbacks. But in this moment, both man and dog feel. The weight of grief clings to Luke like a shadow, always there, always heavy. His mother's death, a loss that no one had been able to prepare him for, lingers, haunting him in the quiet moments of his day. He had tried to fight it, bury it beneath layers of distraction, but the pain never left. It simply hid, waiting for the right moment to resurface. His life feels like an empty room, its walls closing in on him with each passing day. The friends he once had don't reach out, his family's voices seem distant. He isolates himself further, pulling away from the world, unable to share the deep pain that churns within him. A part of him feels guilty for even existing, for being here when his mother, the one person who had truly understood him, was no longer around. He walks through life like a ghost, his eyes hollow, his heart heavy. Luke had always been driven by the expectation to succeed, to make something of himself. But now, without his job, without the structure that had once guided his every day, he feels adrift. His former sense of purpose has crumbled, leaving him with nothing but a sinking feeling in his stomach. "What am I supposed to do now?" he asks himself repeatedly, as if his mind is searching for some kind of answer. But there's no response, only silence. The weight of failure presses against his chest. He feels small and insignificant, a man who had once believed in a future now questioning whether he even had one. The expectations from others, the life he'd hoped to build, none of it matters now. It all feels like a distant dream, unreachable and fading. Desperate for a break from the constant noise in his head, Luke finds himself in his car, the engine humming softly beneath him. He drives without thinking, his hands gripping the wheel tighter than necessary. It's not until he reaches the animal auction house that he even realizes where he's headed. The building is large and cold, filled with the sound of barking, the clinking of metal cages, and the smell of damp fur. Luke stands at the edge of the crowd, unsure of why he's here. He isn't looking for a dog, at least not in the way others are. He doesn't even know what he expects to find. But something draws him inside, something in the pit of his stomach that says he's supposed to be here. The auction room is a sea of faces, all indifferent, all disconnected. People look at the animals, evaluate them with a coldness that makes Luke's stomach twist. There's no warmth, no empathy. The dogs in the cages are treated like property, nothing more than commodities to be sold off to the highest bidder. Max is one of many, though he's the only one who catches Luke's eye. Luke feels like an outsider, detached from the proceedings. The room buzzes around him, but he's not really a part of it. There's a hollowness inside him, a disconnect that he can't seem to shake. He watches as others bid, as the animals are carted in and out of the ring, their fates determined by a few seconds of indifference. It all feels so empty. And then he sees Max. Max is led into the ring, his body stiff, eyes darting nervously around. His coat is a mess, dirty, matted with filth. His once proud German Shepherd build is now thin and frail, like he hasn't eaten in days. His paws scrape against the cold concrete as he moves forward, a picture of uncertainty. His eyes are the saddest part, emptied by neglect, haunted by whatever horrors he's faced. They speak of years of abuse, betrayal, and isolation. Luke sees it immediately, sees the same pain that lives in his own chest. It's not the dog's appearance that strikes him, but the depth of his sorrow. Max is a creature who's been abandoned, rejected, just like Luke. As the auction begins, Max is passed over again and again. His aggressive posture, his hesitant movements, they all signal a history of trauma. The crowd looks at him, sizes him up, and then moves on. The auctioneer lowers the price, but still, no one is interested. Max's fate is in the hands of people who can't, or won't, see past his brokenness. Each passing moment, each rejection, chips away at Max's remaining hope. His eyes dull further, his movements more stiff. He grows accustomed to the cycle of disappointment, as if he's resigned to the fact that no one will ever choose him. Luke watches this with growing discomfort, his heart aching as the dog's fate is sealed by those who see only the surface, never understanding the depth of his pain. Luke stands there, his heart heavy, unable to look away from Max. There's something about him, something that calls to Luke in a way he can't explain. It's not the dog's appearance. He knows Max is broken, scarred. But it's the pain in his eyes, the sorrow that seems to echo his own. Luke feels a strange pull, like the dog's suffering mirrors his own. There's a loneliness between them, unspoken but understood. He doesn't know why, but in that moment, Luke feels a connection, a thread between them, invisible but real. He sees past the fear and aggression in Max's eyes, and all he can see is the need for healing. Just as Luke feels lost, Max feels abandoned. Both of them carry burdens that seem too heavy to bear. But for the first time in a long time, Luke realizes that they're not so different after all. The crowd fades into the background as Luke's gaze locks with Max's. Time seems to stop, the noise of the auction hall dissolving into a quiet hum. It's just the two of them, man and dog, caught in a shared understanding. Max's fear, his vulnerability, his brokenness, they all speak to Luke in a way nothing else has. It's in that look that Luke understands. This isn't just about buying a dog. This is about offering something more. It's about offering a chance at healing, for Max and for him. The realization hits hard, like a punch to the chest. The connection is immediate, undeniable. And for the first time in what feels like forever, Luke doesn't feel so alone. Without thinking, Luke raises his hand. His heart is pounding in his chest as his own voice seems to come from a place far away. $1, he says, the words coming out of his mouth before he even has a chance to think about them. The room goes silent for a moment. The auctioneer looks at Luke, surprised by the sudden bid. Luke can feel the weight of every eye in the room on him, but he doesn't care. Something inside him pushes him forward, something more than just impulse. He doesn't have a plan, doesn't know what he's doing, but in this moment, he knows he has to act. The auctioneer nods, a mechanical smile spreading across his face. Sold. Max is led toward Luke, his movements hesitant and unsure. His eyes are wide with uncertainty, yet there's a flicker of something, maybe trust, maybe hope, deep in his gaze. Luke's heart races as the leash is placed in his hands. This is it. The moment that will change both of their lives forever. But as Luke looks at Max, he knows that this is just the beginning. There's a long road ahead, one filled with setbacks, pain, and healing. But for the first time in a long time, Luke feels a spark of something, hope. As Luke drives Max home, his mind drifts to what might have brought the dog here. Flashbacks of Max's life as a military working dog flood Luke's thoughts. He imagines Max, once strong, disciplined, and loyal, working alongside his handler in a foreign land. But then the unimaginable. His handler killed, leaving Max alone. Abandoned, neglected, betrayed by those he trusted most. Max's scars, his cracked paws, his torn ear, tell the story of that betrayal. The pain of abandonment is written in every inch of his body, in every hesitation he makes. His soul, once strong, is now fragile, and Luke knows that healing this dog will take more than just care. It will take time, patience, and trust. Trust that they will both have to learn to rebuild. Luke pulls into his driveway, his hand gently resting on Max's trembling body. For a moment, neither of them moves. There's no understanding of how they'll heal, no clear path ahead. But in this moment, they are no longer alone. They are two souls who have found each other, two beings bound by their shared pain. Luke looks at Max, the sadness in his eyes reflected in the dog's. And though neither of them knows what the future holds, there's a quiet hope between them. They will walk this road together, each step forward a small victory. And for the first time in a long time, they both feel like they have a chance. Max enters Luke's home slowly, his body rigid, tail tucked tightly between his legs. Every step he takes is cautious, as if the floor beneath him might suddenly give way. The unfamiliar scent of the house clings to him, making his anxiety even worse. He growls lowly, a warning to anyone who might come too close. His eyes dart from Luke to the door, as though calculating his chances of escape. There's no room for hesitation in his mind. Every instinct screams for him to flee, to get away from the overwhelming confusion and fear that swirl around him. Luke watches him from a distance, standing frozen in the doorway. His heart breaks at the sight of the dog who has clearly been through so much. "It's okay, Max," Luke murmurs softly, but the dog flinches at his voice, the sound of it too unfamiliar, too threatening. Max looks back at Luke with those eyes, full of fear, distrust, and an overwhelming sadness that mirrors his own. For a moment, they are two strangers, caught in the same room, each uncertain of what to do next. Luke, desperate to comfort, takes a tentative step forward, his hand reaching out to Max. His palm is open, inviting. "Come here, boy," he whispers. But as soon as Luke's hand moves toward him, Max recoils violently, his body jerking away from the touch. His teeth flash briefly, a sharp warning to stay back. Luke freezes, his heart sinking. He watches Max, who now sits rigidly, eyes wide, his body stiff with the terror of an approaching threat. The dog's growl is quiet but unmistakable. "I'm not gonna hurt you," Luke says, his voice barely above a whisper, but Max doesn't respond. He can see it in the dog's eyes, the pain of what came before, the scars that can't be seen on his skin but are etched deep within his soul. The air between them thickens with the weight of unspoken history. It's clear now. This dog, this poor, broken dog, has been betrayed by humans before. And Luke, despite his best intentions, is nothing more than another stranger. The next few days are filled with tension. Luke watches Max carefully, trying to find a way to break through the wall of fear. He offers food, water, and shelter, but Max remains distant, too wary of every move Luke makes. Whenever Luke tries to make eye contact, Max growls low, warning him to stay away. Each time Luke tries to comfort him, the dog snaps, a violent outburst that leaves Luke standing there, heart heavy with doubt. "Come on, buddy, just trust me," Luke mutters to himself, his voice quiet and full of frustration. But Max only recoils, further retreating into the space he's carved out for himself in the corner of the room. The growls escalate. The distrust between them grows, and Max begins to avoid Luke completely. He refuses to eat if Luke is in the room, and his eyes, always alert, seem to be watching every step Luke makes. The silence between them becomes unbearable. Luke feels the sting of rejection, of being unwanted, of not knowing how to break through the walls of pain and fear. Maybe I made a mistake, Luke thinks, sitting down in his kitchen, his eyes staring blankly at the floor. Maybe he's beyond saving. Days blur into nights, and Luke's patience wears thin. He tries everything, sitting near Max, offering him treats, speaking to him gently, but nothing works. Max's fear is overwhelming, and Luke can feel the distance between them widening. Max refuses to engage, retreating further with every failed attempt to connect. One night, Luke finds himself sitting in the living room, staring at the empty space where Max used to be. "What am I doing wrong?" he asks, his voice shaking with frustration and self-doubt. "Why can't I get through to you?" Max lies curled in a corner, eyes wide, body tense. He doesn't trust, doesn't allow anyone close. Luke's heart aches as he watches him, knowing that Max's wounds run deeper than just the physical. He's been abandoned, betrayed, and now, Luke is unsure if he'll ever be able to reach him. Max growls softly in his sleep, a sound that haunts Luke in the silence of the night. The weight of failure presses against his chest. He doesn't know if he has the strength to keep going. As the days pass, Luke reflects on Max's past, piecing together the story from what he's seen and what he's heard from the shelter. Max wasn't always like this. He was once a proud military working dog, disciplined, loyal, strong. But that was before everything changed. Flashbacks of Max's life in the service flood Luke's mind. The training, the camaraderie with his handler, the missions they shared, the pride that once filled his chest. But then it all came crashing down. Max's handler died in combat, leaving Max alone in a foreign world, surrounded by danger and uncertainty. Betrayed by the people who should have protected him, Max was left to survive on his own. Max's journey from a soldier to an abandoned, broken animal tells a story of emotional and physical scars. His torn ear, the cracks on his paws, the look in his eyes that no one had ever bothered to fix. Luke begins to understand that the anger, the fear, it's not just random. It's a defense mechanism. Max's whole world has been turned upside down, and trust, once broken, is a hard thing to rebuild. The more Luke watches Max, the more he begins to see the truth. Max's aggression isn't born from hate, it's born from fear. Luke sees the way Max flinches when anyone gets too close, the way he shakes at loud noises. It's clear now. Max is terrified, not of Luke, but of what he represents. Another human, another potential betrayer. "You've been hurt too many times, haven't you?" Luke murmurs quietly, his voice full of compassion. "I know what that feels like." For the first time, Luke sees himself in Max. He's not just trying to help a dog, he's trying to heal the same wounds he's been carrying around for years. The realization hits him hard. He's not alone in this. Max's pain mirrors his own. And now they're both here, struggling, suffering, but still holding on. Luke's internal battle is constant, a silent war that no one else can see. He has never fully faced the loss of his mother, the guilt of not being able to save her from her pain. Her death lingers like an open wound, and his grief is something he hasn't allowed himself to process. He buries it deep, hiding it behind the facade of his daily life, but it's always there, nagging, reminding him of what he's lost. Every day, he struggles to fight through it, to feel anything other than the overwhelming sadness that drags him down. But even in the darkest of moments, when his grief feels unbearable, Max is there. In a strange way, Max becomes his anchor. Luke begins to understand that helping Max isn't just about fixing him, it's about fixing himself. As Luke spends more time with Max, he begins to see more parallels between them. Max's hostility toward humans, his distrust, his need to hide, all of it echoes Luke's own emotional scars. Luke has spent years pushing people away, too afraid to let anyone close. And now, Max is doing the same. Luke's need for control, his fear of rejection, these are the same things that keep Max isolated. But there's hope. Luke realizes that they're both in the same place. They're both broken, but they're not beyond healing. This shared pain, this shared struggle, is what will ultimately bring them together. One evening, after days of failed attempts, Luke sits quietly on the floor, exhausted. Max lies in the corner, his eyes watching Luke warily. But this time, something is different. Max doesn't growl or back away. Instead, he slowly approaches Luke, his body tense but his movements cautious, like he's unsure but willing to take a risk. Luke holds his breath as Max lowers his head, his eyes softening. This is the first time Max hasn't immediately recoiled. For a brief moment, they are in sync, two souls reaching out for something they've both been afraid to feel. Luke doesn't move. He waits, allowing Max to come to him on his terms. And then, when Max nudges his hand gently with his nose, Luke's heart swells with hope. This small victory means more than he can put into words. As Max sleeps peacefully beside him that night, Luke reflects on everything they've been through. The pain, the struggles, the moments of doubt, it's all led them to this point. "I won't give up on you, Max," Luke whispers, his voice full of conviction. "You're not alone anymore. I'll help you heal, just like I'm healing too." Luke knows the road ahead is long. The setbacks will come, the frustrations will return. But he's ready to walk this path with Max. This isn't just about the dog's recovery, it's about both of them finding a way forward. The days after their breakthrough are filled with progress, but not without setbacks. Max has moments of regression. He growls, snaps, and pulls away when Luke gets too close. Luke's patience is tested. The old doubts creep back in, making him question if he's truly capable of helping Max. But he doesn't give up. Max's healing won't be linear, and Luke knows that. He keeps moving forward, reminding himself that the road to trust is filled with twists and turns. It's about persistence, not perfection. And every time Max lets him in, every small moment of trust is a victory. One day, Luke watches as Max follows him from room to room. It's not much, but it's everything. Max is no longer hiding, no longer retreating into the corner. He's choosing to be near Luke, even if it's just for a moment. Luke's heart swells with pride. This isn't just a dog walking behind him. This is a dog learning to trust again, a dog finding his way back to love. And Luke? He's learning to. Max's movements are like a caged animal's, cautious and calculated. As soon as Luke tries to approach, Max stiffens, eyes locking onto him with visible distrust. His body trembles, his growl low but constant, a warning that cuts through the air. Luke pauses, instinctively stopping just out of Max's reach. "It's okay, buddy. I'm not going to hurt you," Luke murmurs, his voice a mixture of compassion and confusion. But Max isn't convinced. He bares his teeth and snaps at the air, a clear message that he's not ready, not yet. Luke feels the weight of Max's fear. A fear so deep that even the softest gestures of kindness are perceived as threats. His heart sinks, and in that moment, Luke understands something crucial. Max's aggression isn't born from malice, it's fear. Fear so deep, so ingrained, that any approach feels like another betrayal. Max's instinct to defend himself is raw, instinctual. He has been abandoned, beaten, and left to fend for himself. Now, every human is a potential danger, and Luke is just one more stranger in a long line of disappointments. "You've been hurt so much, haven't you?" Luke whispers to himself, realizing that healing won't come easy. But he doesn't know how to break through. The more Max retreats, the more distant Luke feels. Max's defensiveness doesn't stop at growls. The next morning, Luke tries again. He gently approaches Max, who is lying in the corner of the living room. His body is tense, his eyes darting from Luke's face to the door. "Let me help you, Max," Luke says softly, kneeling down to his level. He extends his hand, slowly, cautiously, hoping to calm the dog. Max's reaction is instant and violent. In a flash, he lunges, sinking his teeth into Luke's hand. The pain is sharp, and for a moment, everything freezes. Luke stumbles backward, his hand throbbing, blood trickling from the wound. Max pulls away, his wide eyes reflecting the terror that drives him. Luke stands there, stunned, his heart sinking with the realization that this moment has opened a new rift between them. He stares at his bleeding hand, but it's the emotional sting that cuts deeper than anything physical. He thought he was helping, but instead, he's only reminded of how far Max still has to go, how much healing remains. I thought I could fix this," Luke murmurs, his voice full of defeat. Max retreats further into the corner, eyes wild, and Luke wonders if he's made a huge mistake in bringing him here. Luke spends the rest of the day tending to his hand, trying to keep himself together. But the emotional weight of the bite, of the broken connection with Max, weighs heavily on him. He lies on the couch later that night, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. The guilt gnaws at him, pulling him deeper into the darkness. "I can't do this," he says aloud, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm failing him. I'm failing myself." The pain from the bite pulses in his hand, but it's the emotional ache that's unbearable. His grief over his mother's death still lingers, unresolved. Now, with Max, the same sense of helplessness and despair is rising once again. He's exhausted, mentally, emotionally, physically. The road ahead seems impossibly long, and in the silence of the night, the loneliness settles in. He has no one to talk to, no one who truly understands the pain he's carrying. And Max? He's just as lost. Luke sits up, head in his hands. What if I can't fix this? What if I can't help him? His mind races with doubts, with the fear that he's in over his head. But somewhere deep inside, he knows he can't give up on Max. Yet, the struggle feels insurmountable. Days pass, and with each one, Luke's financial strain grows. Max's growing medical needs add to the burden. Luke searches for low-cost veterinary clinics, each call met with more bad news. The bills pile up: vet visits, medications, food, supplies. His old job is a distant memory, and the pressure of not having enough money to provide for Max weighs on him more than anything. He sits at the kitchen table, going over the bills, his mind spinning. Every number, every cost, feels like a reminder of how unprepared he is for this responsibility. He barely has enough money to cover his own bills, let alone take care of a dog with complex needs. How am I supposed to do this? Luke mutters, running a hand through his hair. How can I help him if I can't even help myself? The burden of financial responsibility presses down on him, and Luke feels the weight of Max's health on his shoulders. The uncertainty of his financial future clouds every decision, every hope. Max's condition deteriorates rapidly. His coat is even duller now, his body weaker, the once proud German Shepherd figure now frail and sickly. He refuses to eat, his appetite lost in the fog of fear and pain. The infection in his wounds grows worse, and Luke feels helpless as he watches Max struggle. Come, Max. You need to eat something. You need to get better, Luke pleads, holding the food bowl out in front of the dog. But Max turns his head away, the fear in his eyes refusing to let him trust Luke. Max is restless, his body trembling, and his ears twitch at the faintest sounds. Luke can see the panic building inside him, the memories of past trauma resurfacing with every unfamiliar noise. When a door slams outside, Max's panic hits a new peak. He scrambles back, crashing into the wall, whimpering, eyes wide with terror. Luke's heart breaks as he watches the dog, a once proud military working animal, now reduced to this trembling, fearful creature. The cycle of pain and fear seems never-ending, and Luke is lost in the helplessness of it all. As the days turn into weeks, Luke withdraws even further into himself. The stress of Max's recovery, coupled with his own financial and emotional struggles, pulls him away from friends and family. He can't seem to connect with anyone anymore. His phone remains silent, and when his family calls, he offers only short, distracted responses. "I'm fine, Mom. Everything's fine," he lies, his voice lacking conviction. But deep down, he knows he's not fine. The walls around him grow higher, the isolation more profound. Max's withdrawal from the world mirrors Luke's own. They're both retreating, both hiding from the pain they can't escape. And as the loneliness continues to grow, Luke wonders if he will ever be able to heal, if he'll ever truly be able to connect with anyone again, let alone a dog as broken as Max. Luke's family begins to voice their concern more often, urging him to give up on Max. They don't understand why Luke is so committed to a dog who clearly has issues beyond what he can handle. "Luke, this dog is too much. It's not fair to you," his father says one evening, his voice tinged with worry. "You've got enough on your plate already. Maybe it's time to let him go." Luke listens, the words like daggers in his chest. His family doesn't understand. They don't see what he sees, the shared pain, the bond forming slowly between him and Max. They don't know what it feels like to have something, someone, to fight for. "You don't get it," Luke responds, his voice tight, filled with frustration. "I can't just give up on him. He's not just a dog to me. But his words trail off, leaving him with a deep ache. He knows they're right in one sense, it's too much. But in another, he knows giving up on Max would be giving up on himself. And he's not ready to do that. Max retreats further, his behavior more erratic as he continues to pull away from everyone, including Luke. When family members try to approach, Max growls low, his tail tucked between his legs. He hides in corners, avoiding human contact altogether. The dog who once followed commands with ease now hides, cowering in silence, a broken shell of what he once was. Luke's attempts to coax him out of hiding fail. He tries calling Max's name softly, offering treats, but nothing works. Every time Max retreats, it feels like another wall between them, another fracture in the fragile bond they've started to build. Luke's exhaustion grows. He sits on the couch late at night, staring at Max, who lays curled in the far corner. "Please, Max. Please trust me," Luke whispers, but the dog doesn't move. The emotional toll weighs heavily on Luke. He feels the crushing weight of responsibility pressing down on him, Max's pain, his fear, and his own growing despair. He questions whether he's doing enough, whether he's even capable of helping this dog who seems so far beyond saving. "I shouldn't have brought him here," Luke thinks, watching Max tremble in his corner. "I can't fix him. I can't fix myself." His doubts multiply with each passing day. The isolation, the uncertainty, every moment feels like a test, and Luke is unsure whether he's passing. His sense of self-worth crumbles as he watches Max suffer and realizes he can't take away the pain. Then, one evening, something changes. Max, who has avoided Luke for days, comes closer. The hesitation is palpable, but this time, he doesn't retreat. Luke slowly extends his hand, and after a long moment, Max sniffs it cautiously. He doesn't pull away. There's no growl, no snap. Luke's heart leaps in his chest. "You're okay, Max. I'm not going anywhere." For the first time, there's a glimmer of hope, a sign that the bond between them isn't beyond repair. It's a small step, but it feels monumental. Luke feels a renewed sense of purpose. Maybe this road won't be as long as he thought. Maybe healing is still possible. But even with this small victory, Luke knows that the road ahead is still long and filled with challenges. Max's health isn't fixed, and his emotional scars run deep. Luke is still financially stretched thin, still struggling with the emotional weight of his own grief. The future is uncertain, but at least now, they are walking it together. "We'll get through this, Max. I promise," Luke whispers, his voice filled with determination. He doesn't know what comes next, but he knows one thing: he won't give up on Max. He can't. Luke's hand trembles as he holds the phone to his ear, the voice on the other end cold, distant, offering no compassion. "We regret to inform you that we've decided to let you go." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. For a moment, everything goes silent, his mind unable to process the gravity of the situation. He's been laid off. The weight of financial ruin presses down on him, suffocating him with its crushing reality. I don't understand," Luke stammers, but the voice is already cutting him off, moving on to the next call, indifferent to his struggles. As he hangs up, his gaze drifts to Max, who's lying quietly in the corner of the room. The dog's once proud form is now curled up, his body weak and frail. The sight of Max's pitiful state brings a sharp ache to Luke's chest. Just when things seemed like they couldn't get worse, Max's health begins to take a sharp decline. Max refuses to eat, his body trembling with fever. He's lethargic, eyes glazed with exhaustion and fear. "Not now, Max," Luke mutters under his breath, watching helplessly as the dog shifts in place, too weak to lift his head. The sinking feeling in his chest intensifies. Everything is falling apart. "I don't know how to fix this," Luke whispers, his voice breaking as he leans against the wall, feeling the walls close in around him. Max's panic attacks worsen. His once strong frame is now frail, shaking with each tremor that runs through him. His body is covered in cold sweat, and his eyes dart around in a mixture of fear and confusion. The dog who had once been trained for battle now looks like a shadow of himself. Luke watches in helpless agony as Max struggles. The dog's desperation fills the room, and Luke feels the weight of his own helplessness. Every day, Max's body grows weaker, his health more fragile. Every failed attempt to get him to eat feels like a personal defeat for Luke. "Come on, Max. You have to fight," Luke says softly, his voice hoarse with emotion, but Max doesn't respond. His body remains stiff, his eyes too distant. Luke's despair grows as the days drag on. He feels trapped, cornered by his own emotional and financial turmoil. There's no way out, no way forward. "What if I can't save you?" Luke thinks, his heart heavy. The question haunts him, gnawing at his soul. "What if I fail?" With mounting anxiety, Luke makes a decision. He must take Max to a specialist. His heart pounds as he pulls into the clinic's parking lot, the reality of the situation crashing down on him. He has no idea how he'll afford this treatment, but he knows he has no other choice. Max's health is critical. The vet informs him that without immediate care, Max's condition could worsen rapidly. The doctor looks at Luke, his expression serious but compassionate. He needs immediate rehabilitation. If you wait too long, it might be too late. Luke's pulse quickens. The weight of the decision presses on him with a finality that he can't ignore. How can he choose between his financial stability and Max's survival? But the choice is clear. "I can't let him go," Luke mutters to himself, his grip tightening around the steering wheel. The fear of failing Max weighs heavily, a suffocating thought that Luke can't escape. But in that moment, Luke knows there's no turning back. His future, his own healing, is now tied to this dog. And he will not fail him. That night, alone in the dim light of his small apartment, Luke's resolve begins to crack. The emotional pressure from all sides, Max's health, his job loss, the mounting bills, finally overwhelms him. He collapses onto the couch, his face buried in his hands. "I'm failing. I can't keep going like this. I can't fix anything," Luke cries out, the words full of anguish. He feels the weight of his grief, the years of unresolved pain, pushing him further into the abyss. The guilt of his mother's death, the guilt of never being enough, piles on top of him. I couldn't save her. Now I can't save him. Max, sensing Luke's distress, approaches cautiously, his body still trembling from his own anxiety. Without warning, the dog lies down next to Luke, his presence a subtle but powerful act of support. For the first time in weeks, Luke doesn't push Max away. He doesn't flinch when the dog gently rests his head against him. Max's silent understanding cuts through Luke's breakdown like a lifeline. As Luke's sobs subside, the dog's warm body offers quiet comfort, reminding Luke that he isn't alone, that they are in this together. Through his tears, Luke suddenly sees the truth he's been avoiding. Max's suffering mirrors his own. Both of them have been abandoned, Max by his handler, Luke by his own emotional disconnect after his mother's death. They both carry the same weight of loss, of grief. "We're not so different," Luke whispers, his voice breaking as he looks down at Max, who is now nuzzling his hand gently. In that quiet moment, Luke understands. He isn't just helping Max heal, he's healing himself. The bond between them is no longer about rescuing a broken animal. It's about facing their shared pain, their shared trauma, and finding the strength to rebuild. "I'm not giving up on you, Max," Luke says softly, his voice firm with new determination. "We're in this together. I promise." Max's behavior shifts in response to Luke's unwavering commitment. Slowly, tentatively, Max nuzzles Luke's hand again, a small but profound sign of trust. The dog, who had once recoiled from any human touch, now accepts it, not as an act of submission, but as an act of partnership. Luke's heart swells with emotion as he feels the shift, the moment they both realize they are no longer alone. "You're ready, Max," Luke whispers. "We're ready." The realization fills Luke with a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time since this journey began, Luke knows that he will fight for both of them. He will be Max's caregiver, his protector, and together, they will move forward, no longer bound by the past, but by a shared future of healing. Days pass, and slowly, Max begins to show signs of improvement. He starts to eat, albeit slowly, and the tremors in his body begin to subside. The once empty gaze that had haunted him is now softer, more trusting. The panic attacks, while still present, occur less frequently, and Max seems to settle into the rhythm of his new life. Luke watches this transformation with a mixture of awe and relief. Each small victory feels like a triumph. Max's recovery is a slow, fragile process, but it's progress nonetheless. "We're doing this, Max," Luke says quietly, the words filled with hope. Max looks up at him, eyes filled with something new, trust. Despite Max's improving health, the financial strain continues to threaten their progress. Every veterinary bill, every medication, piles up, and Luke finds himself scraping together whatever he can to keep Max on the path to recovery. "I don't know how much longer I can do this," Luke mutters to himself one evening, staring at the pile of unpaid bills. "I'm not sure I can keep up." But just as the weight of his financial burden becomes unbearable, Luke receives a call from a neighbor offering help. The kindness of others begins to shine through, and Luke realizes that he's not entirely alone in this fight. With each small act of generosity, the weight lifts, and Luke feels the pressure ease, if only a little. Max begins to follow Luke around the house, lingering in the same room, sitting by his side. His steps are slower than they used to be, but each movement is filled with more confidence. When Luke reaches out to pet him, Max leans into the touch, a soft whine escaping his throat. This is the breakthrough they've both been waiting for. Max's affection is still tentative, still fragile, but it's there. For the first time, Max seeks out Luke, as if he's learning what it means to be loved, to be cared for. And with every gesture, every small sign of trust, Luke feels the bond between them growing stronger. "You're not alone anymore, Max," Luke says softly, his voice full of love. "We've both been through too much to give up now." As Max's health continues to improve, Luke begins to heal his own wounds. He starts to address the unresolved grief over his mother's death, acknowledging the pain he's carried for so long. It's not easy, and there are still moments of doubt, but Luke is learning to forgive himself. He realizes that healing isn't linear, that it's okay to stumble, to fall. What matters is getting back up and continuing the journey. Just like Max, he is a work in progress. "I'm not perfect, but I'm here," Luke says to himself, looking down at Max, who rests beside him. And that's enough. Through their shared struggles, Luke and Max have formed an unbreakable bond. It has been a long, painful road, but they have both grown stronger in the process. They are no longer just man and dog. They are partners, bound by shared experience and mutual healing. Luke looks down at Max, who gazes back at him with eyes full of trust. "We're not just surviving anymore," Luke says softly, his voice filled with gratitude. "We're living. Together." Max nudges Luke's hand, his silent promise to keep fighting too. With Max's health improving and their bond stronger than ever, Luke feels ready to face the future. The road ahead is still uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Luke doesn't feel lost. He knows that whatever challenges lie ahead, they will face them together. "We've made it this far," Luke whispers, a sense of peace settling over him. "And we'll keep going one step at a time." Together, Luke and Max walk into the future, not as two broken souls, but as a team, stronger, braver, and more determined than ever. Their journey is far from over, but they are no longer burdened by the weight of the past. The future is bright, and it's theirs to embrace. Max's eyes follow Luke around the room, his once distrustful gaze now softened by the consistency of Luke's gentle presence. Luke doesn't push, doesn't rush. He simply sits on the floor, his body open, his voice calm and soothing. Max watches him for a long time, as if weighing his intentions. Slowly, the dog's body language softens, a small, almost imperceptible shift in posture. Luke reaches out cautiously, extending his hand toward Max, who flinches slightly but doesn't pull away. The moment is brief but powerful. Max allows Luke to pet him, just a quick touch on the back, but it's enough. It's a signal that, despite everything, Max is beginning to trust again. For the first time in weeks, Luke feels a small glimmer of hope, like a light flickering in the dark. "We're getting there, buddy," he whispers softly, a promise that the journey of healing, though slow, is moving forward. Max follows Luke around the house the next day, taking tentative steps closer, his eyes still wary but less fearful. There's a connection forming, fragile yet real. Max is no longer avoiding Luke. For the first time, he seems to be seeking his presence, an unspoken invitation to move beyond the walls of fear that have kept them apart. Luke watches Max with quiet resolve, his heart swelling with a mixture of pride and relief. Every small step forward, every flicker of trust from Max, strengthens Luke's own determination. "We're not giving up," Luke thinks to himself as he sits beside Max on the couch. His commitment to this journey has become his own lifeline, a way out of the despair that has haunted him since his mother's death. The bond with Max is more than just a path to healing for the dog, it's a path for Luke too. Every moment spent caring for Max grounds him, focuses his scattered thoughts, and pushes him toward something better. He begins to see the light at the end of the tunnel, no longer consumed by grief and guilt but energized by the work ahead. Each success, no matter how small, fills Luke with a renewed sense of purpose. The emotional fog that once clouded his mind begins to clear. With every step Max takes toward recovery, Luke feels himself growing stronger. The weight of his own past still lingers, but with Max beside him, Luke knows he can face whatever comes next. Max's recovery is nothing short of miraculous. His coat begins to shine once again, no longer dull and matted, but thick and glossy. His once brittle frame is becoming stronger with each passing day, and his appetite, once lost to fear and trauma, has returned. The dog who cowered in the corner now walks with more confidence, his head held higher, his movements more fluid and less guarded. Max's emotional healing unfolds in much the same way. The signs of fear that once dictated his every action are slowly replaced by a growing sense of security. He begins to trust Luke more and more, responding to commands with eagerness, looking up at Luke with eyes full of loyalty. Luke sees this transformation with awe, pride, and gratitude. This is the dog he always knew Max could be. Strong, loyal, resilient. Max isn't just recovering physically, he's becoming the dog Luke knew he could be all along. Each small moment of progress feels like a triumph, a reminder that healing, no matter how slow, is always possible. Inspired by his journey with Max, Luke begins volunteering at local animal shelters. He spends his weekends helping rehabilitate dogs, working with those who've been abandoned, abused, and forgotten. His work brings him a sense of fulfillment he hadn't known in years. There's a new light in his eyes now, a sense of purpose that drives him forward every day. Helping other animals gives Luke a sense of connection, not just to the dogs, but to the community of people who share his passion. He finds himself growing closer to others who understand the depths of trauma and the beauty of second chances. His bond with Max has given him the strength to step outside of his own grief and help others find the healing they need. Every day at the shelter reminds Luke that healing isn't just about fixing what's broken, it's about finding strength in the struggle. As he works with the animals, he begins to see the same growth in them that he sees in Max. And with each small victory, Luke feels his own emotional scars healing too. Max's transformation continues to amaze everyone around him. His health has fully recovered, and his once shaky legs are now strong, confident. The dog who once trembled at the sound of footsteps now walks proudly beside Luke, no longer haunted by the shadows of his past. Max's confidence grows daily. His tail wags freely, and he responds to Luke's voice with eagerness, his once fearful eyes now full of trust and love. He is no longer the dog who was abandoned and betrayed. Max has reclaimed his strength and with it, his joy. "You did it, Max," Luke says one morning as they walk together through the park. Max looks up at him as if understanding and licks his hand affectionately. Luke smiles, the bond between them stronger than ever. Max's journey has become an inspiration to everyone who hears it. People at the shelter ask about him, and Luke shares their story, talking about the dog who fought through the pain and emerged stronger on the other side. Max's resilience has become a symbol of hope, a reminder that no matter how broken we are, we can always heal. Luke's life has begun to shift in more ways than one. With his newfound sense of purpose, he starts looking for work again. The job market is tough, but Luke pushes forward, applying for positions that align with his growing passion for animal welfare. Finally, he receives an offer, a stable job with a local animal welfare organization, offering him the financial security he's longed for. The job brings a renewed sense of confidence. Luke no longer feels adrift. He has a future now, a future he can build with Max by his side. The constant worry about his finances begins to fade, replaced by the hope of new opportunities, both for him and the dog who saved his life. "I'm doing this for you, Max," Luke says as he prepares for his first day at the new job. "We're both moving forward." The stability that this job brings not only secures their future but also gives Luke the confidence to continue growing, emotionally and financially. Luke's transformation does not go unnoticed by his family. As Max's recovery becomes evident, they begin to understand the depth of the bond between Luke and the dog. What once seemed like a burden to them now feels like a story of redemption. Slowly, they start to offer more support, recognizing how Max has brought Luke back from the edge. One evening, Luke's mother calls, her voice filled with warmth and understanding. "I'm proud of you, Luke. I see how much Max has helped you, and I'm glad you found purpose again." The walls that once stood between Luke and his family begin to crumble. His relationship with them, strained for so long, begins to heal. They understand now, in a way they hadn't before, that Luke's journey with Max has been one of healing not just for the dog, but for himself. Max's loyalty to Luke has become unwavering. No longer the fearful, reactive dog who used to shrink away from touch, Max is now a confident and loving companion. He follows Luke around the house, sitting loyally by his side. At night, Max curls up at Luke's feet, offering silent comfort as they both rest. The transformation is complete. Max is no longer just a rescue dog. He is a partner, a true companion, who has helped Luke find stability and strength. Luke can't help but smile every time Max looks up at him with those eyes filled with love, trust, and gratitude. "You're not just my dog, Max," Luke says softly as Max leans his head against his leg. "You're my family. You've saved me." Together, Luke and Max have faced the darkness. They have both come through the pain of their pasts, and now they are stronger for it. They move forward side by side, a team unbreakable and resilient. The bond they share is a constant reminder that healing is possible no matter how deep the wounds. Every day, they face the future together with renewed hope, knowing that no matter what happens, they will always have each other. Luke and Max's story has become one of inspiration. Their journey of recovery, from the depths of trauma to the heights of healing, touches everyone who hears it. Luke shares their story at animal rescue events, using it as a platform to advocate for healing and second chances. Max's transformation serves as a symbol of hope to anyone who struggles with their own pain. Their future is now filled with possibilities. Luke and Max continue to volunteer, to help other animals, and to live a life full of purpose. Together, they face each new day with the knowledge that they are no longer broken, they are. Luke watches Max run around in the backyard, his movements strong and confident. The sun is setting, casting a warm glow over everything. Luke smiles, a deep, contented smile, knowing that their journey is far from over, but it's one they'll face together. "We've come so far, Max," Luke says softly, his heart full of gratitude. "And we're not stopping now." Max turns to look at him, his eyes filled with a quiet understanding. In that moment, Luke knows that this journey has healed them both. They are no longer the broken souls they once were, they are survivors, and together, they are whole. "We've found our way back," Luke whispers, watching Max run toward him. "And together, we'll keep going." Max's transformation has become nothing short of extraordinary. No longer the fearful, trembling dog that first stepped into Luke's home, Max is now a symbol of healing and resilience. The people in the local community see him differently now, as a living testament to the power of recovery. Children who once hesitated to approach him now pet him with confidence, and adults speak of his journey with awe. Max has become a beacon of hope, a reminder that no matter how broken or abandoned one may feel, healing is always possible. Luke watches Max interact with a small group of children at the local park, his heart swelling with pride. Max, once so afraid of the world, now moves with ease, his tail wagging happily as he enjoys the affection from the kids. "You've come so far, haven't you, buddy?" Luke murmurs under his breath. Max looks up at him with a calm, almost knowing gaze, his once nervous demeanor replaced by an undeniable sense of belonging. Seeing Max's transformation firsthand, Luke becomes an impassioned advocate for animal rescue. The more he witnesses Max's recovery, the more he understands the importance of giving neglected animals a second chance. He speaks at local shelters, encouraging people to adopt, to open their hearts, and to provide the care that animals like Max so desperately need. Max's story is proof that healing is possible. Luke shares one evening at a community gathering. This dog was left for dead, abandoned by those who should have cared for him. But with time, patience, and love, he's turned into the dog he was always meant to be. And you can be part of that story too. Luke's voice trembles with emotion as he speaks, and the audience listens intently, moved by his passion. Through his advocacy, Luke hopes to inspire others to take that step toward rescuing animals in need, believing that every dog deserves a chance at a better life. Luke and Max are invited to speak at a local animal rescue event, surrounded by people who share their love for animals. It's a vibrant gathering, booths filled with adoptable pets, volunteers sharing stories of their own rescue animals, and a palpable sense of hope in the air. Luke stands at the front, with Max by his side, his once feared dog now confidently standing tall. They share their journey with the crowd. Luke speaks of the emotional struggles, the failures, the small victories. Max, lying peacefully at his feet, offers a quiet testimony to the power of love and patience. It's not always easy, Luke admits to the crowd, but if you're willing to invest the time, the love, and the energy, you can change a life. Just like Max changed mine. The audience applauds, moved by the story of their bond. The event raises crucial funds for the shelter that saved Max, and Luke feels a sense of pride knowing that the funds will go toward helping more animals find the healing and care they deserve. Through his work with Max, Luke has finally begun to find peace with the grief that has plagued him for so long. He no longer feels consumed by the sorrow of losing his mother. The pain, which had once felt like an insurmountable wall, has begun to fade. Max's journey has helped him process the loss, and with every step forward that Max takes, Luke feels himself healing too. I never thought I'd feel whole again, Luke admits one quiet evening, watching Max curl up beside him. But you showed me how to heal, Max. You gave me back the strength I lost. Luke is no longer defined by the grief he once carried. Instead, he's discovered a new sense of purpose, a desire to help others who are lost, to support animals in need, and to show that healing is not just possible for dogs like Max, but for people too. As Luke's advocacy work gains momentum, the community begins to see him in a completely new light. He is no longer the man who struggled with his own demons. He is the man who rescued a broken dog and in doing so, found healing for himself. Neighbors and friends, who had once questioned Luke's ability to handle his own pain, now admire his strength and resilience. He has become a symbol of redemption, not just for Max, but for anyone who has ever felt lost. I've seen you grow so much, Luke, a neighbor tells him one afternoon as they chat outside. You're not the same person who moved in here a year ago. You've really turned things around. Luke smiles, his chest swelling with pride. It's not just me, he replies, glancing at Max, who sits by his side. We did it together. The bond between Luke and Max has become something unbreakable, something deeper than either could have imagined. They are not just man and dog. They are partners. Every day, their connection grows stronger, and Max becomes more and more the dog he was meant to be. He's no longer fearful, no longer defensive. He's loyal, affectionate, and steady. Luke sees the change not just in Max, but in himself. Max has taught him the power of trust, of second chances, of never giving up. In their quiet moments, whether it's during their evening walks or just sitting on the couch together, there is an understanding between them, a silent promise of mutual support and loyalty. Max looks up at Luke, his tail wagging gently. Luke reaches down to stroke his fur. We're in this together, buddy, he whispers. And Max responds, nudging his hand, a soft whine escaping his throat. Their bond speaks louder than words ever could. Max's role in the community grows. Luke decides to take him to local schools and nursing homes as a therapy dog. Max's calm demeanor and inspiring story bring comfort to those who are struggling. Whether it's a child who's lost a pet or an elderly person who's grieving the loss of a loved one, Max's presence soothes and heals. In every room they visit, Max's quiet strength becomes a symbol of unconditional love. He offers a silent comfort, allowing people to share their own stories of grief and healing, knowing that their emotions are seen and validated. As Max visits more places, his reputation as a healing force grows. You've really made a difference in so many lives, Max, Luke says as the dog curls up next to him after another successful visit. You've changed the world, one person at a time. One bright morning, Luke and Max take a walk through the park. The air is crisp, the sunlight filters through the trees, and Max's tail wags happily as he walks by Luke's side. For the first time in a long time, Luke feels a deep sense of peace settle over him. He looks down at Max, whose eyes are filled with trust and contentment. This is the life they've built together, a life of healing, love, and shared purpose. They have come so far, and yet, the future is wide open. With each step they take, Luke knows that there is nothing they cannot face, nothing they cannot overcome. "This is just the beginning, Max," Luke says softly, his voice full of warmth. "We've come a long way, and there's so much more ahead." Max looks up at him, his tail wagging faster, his body relaxed and happy. In this moment, they are exactly where they're meant to be, together, ready for whatever the future holds. As Luke watches Max run through the park, his heart swells with gratitude. "We've come so far, buddy," he thinks, watching Max play in the grass, carefree and confident. The dog who was broken is now the dog who's whole. And so am I. Luke reflects on the pain they both endured, their shared struggles, the fear, the trauma. But through it all, they've emerged stronger, transformed by the love they've given and received. The man who once felt lost now feels grounded in purpose. And the dog who once trembled in fear now walks with pride. "We healed together," Luke whispers to himself, the words heavy with meaning. "And we're not done yet." Luke looks down at Max, who walks by his side, and feels a wave of certainty. No matter what lies ahead, they will face it together. Their bond is unbreakable, forged through pain, healing, and love. Together, there is nothing they cannot accomplish. "Whatever comes next, we'll take it on together, Max," Luke says, his voice full of unwavering resolve. "We've made it this far. We'll keep going." As they walk into the future, Luke and Max know that their journey is just beginning. There are challenges ahead, but with each other by their side, anything is possible. Their story is far from over, it's only just beginning.